Hello YouTube, welcome to my channel. This is one of my first videos and I'm really happy to bring it to you today. So today I'm going to talk about something very interesting. I'm going to be talking about, are newer BMWs kind of worth the money? And by newer BMWs I mainly mean a lot of the newer lower model BMWs, so like 3 Series, 2 Series, 4 Series, and I have the perfect car with me today. Behind me is a loaner vehicle that I have. It is a BMW 435 Grand Coupe, I believe. Yeah, and it is honestly pretty fantastic for the money. So this car starts at about $44,000 base price. Realistically speaking, optioned up like 55 and like almost 58, 59, almost 60 walk out the door. But on the used market, you can easily pick these up for like 30, 25,000 with some miles on it, and you can get a great CPO deal. BMW CPO is pretty nice, to be honest. And this car I have right now is a loaner, actually. My car is in for service. I have a 2015 650, and that's a fantastic car, but I'm going to save the higher model videos, the higher model cars, for another video. So this car is pretty awesome. I'm going to be basically doing this raw because I kind of want to give you all of my impressions of the car. Obviously I'm going to get in and drive it, but this car honestly looks fantastic. Personally, I love the look of the newer BMWs. I don't think that the chrome is fantastic, but I do like it with this color. I did change out my chrome grille to black, and I think that it would look really cool if somebody did that with this car. However, the way it is done just out the door looks fantastic. Coming around to the sides, I love the sloping roofline. The roofline looks amazing in these Grand Coupe cars, the cars where they take the 2-door and they turn it into a 4-door. Realistically speaking, fitting anybody in the back of that car, not super easy to do, especially if they're adults or over 5'9". But if you have small children or your family's not that tall like mine are, you can easily fit 4 to 5 people in this car without too much issue, just not for a long time. I really do kind of like the wheels now. I didn't like it when I first saw it, but they are kind of growing on me. They're really basic looking, but I think that there's a little bit of a charm to the basic wheels. The only thing that I do have an issue with is this right here. So that right there looks like an air inlet. It's not. It's not functional at all. If you look to the side right here, I don't really think you can see it, but there's not really anything there. It's kind of just, that's where it ends and that's where it begins. It's a nice little styling point, but if it was functional, it makes sense. In this application, it really doesn't. Going around to the back, I like it again. I like these tail lights, I really do. I think it's a really robust looking back end. Kind of a weird thing to say, but that's okay. I do like the tailpipes for this kind of car. Obviously, it doesn't look as aggressive as if there were 4, but hey, you're not really getting an M car. This is still a regular BMW. It's still a luxurious BMW, and it actually is really nice inside. Speaking of inside, let's go ahead, hop in the car, and go for a drive. So now we're inside the interior of the BMW. I'm actually driving around, and I'm having a lot of fun while doing it because, one, this car is pretty small, and with that size, it comes a lot of fun for some reason due to physics. The smaller your car is, really the more fun it is because you don't have one weight, and 2, your turning radius is a lot wider because this car can move. Now, at home we do have an S-Class, and it is a barge. It is gigantic, and my car is an N. It's a 650i Grand Coupe. It is almost the exact same size. So going from super long, very wide cars down to this small, compact, coupe-esque car, it's a really, really big difference. The way you can drive this car is borderline reckless and still be fine, because I can decide not to slow down and still take a turn at like 30 miles an hour. It's ridiculous. But it's ridiculously cool. I can't do that in even my 6 Series. Well, I can, but it's a little bit of a different experience. So another big thing is this interior, right? So it's pretty much the exact same for the 3 Series and the 4 Series. I like it a lot because it's very typical BMW. One thing that BMW does is their interiors really do look very similar across the lineup. The 7 Series, the 3 Series, sure, there are differences that a lot of 7 Series owners are going to be like, oh, this is huge. But, in my opinion, not super huge. Even the 6 Series, which I think has a very different styling than any other BMW interior, is still pretty similar with the way everything works down here in the dash. So when I got in this car, I already knew how everything worked. And the thing about iDrive is that it's super intuitive. That's another great thing that I love about BMWs. They are still luxury cars. Sure, in the old days, they really weren't, right? They were more sporty cars. BMW was trying to build the ultimate driving machine, and that meant to them a very sporty car that you could still haul your family around, which does sound about right. But these new BMWs, they've realized that their market, the people who can actually buy these cars, the people who do want to buy these cars, are typically people with families who do have a 9-to-5 job or any kind of job where they have to commute to work and come back home. And not always do you want to be in a razor's edge sports car when you're coming home on a long day, when it's like 6 o'clock and you're in traffic. That's just not the nicest experience. And BMWs do a really good job of taking the edge out of commutes while still giving you a little bit of edge when you do want the edge. That's one of my favorite parts about newer BMWs, especially down here in the lower end of the lineup. These cars are seriously fun. The M Sport steering wheel is really beefy. It's nice. Like, it is almost the exact same as the one I have in my 6 Series. It doesn't feel as good in my hands, but I think that's only because the material's different. Everything else, super nice. Now, one thing I do have to point out is the suspension. The suspension is pretty stiff in this car, but that's because it's the 4 Series. I believe the 3 Series is a little bit softer, as it is a sedan, first and foremost. But since this is the coupe, they decided to make it sporty. I know you couldn't see my hands. They decided to make it sporty. And that kind of took a little bit of the comfort side out of it. But really, it's still about the same kind of sporty drive that the 3 Series has. So that's a bit of a downer on the 4 Series. But if you're buying a 3 Series, it's actually a great thing. I don't ever have an issue with taking these turns at like 20 miles an hour, 30 miles an hour. This shit's ridiculous. I'm sorry, I couldn't say that. And that's one of my favorite parts about these lower end BMWs. So back to the question, are these good cars to buy for the money? Because you are spending a good amount of money when buying a new, or even a used, really, 3, 4, 2 Series. Yes, I do believe so. The mixture of sport and luxury is really, really difficult to do properly, right? Especially at this price range. The cars that I see do it really well are cars like Aston Martins and Bentleys and things of that nature. They're super expensive cars. And really, the M3, M4 do it really well as well, but they're not really lower end BMWs. I mean, sure, there are variants of the 3 Series and 4 Series, but they're basically completely different cars. This isn't an M4, and in some cases, I really do like that it's not an M4, because right now, I'm just cruising along the highway, and it's not trying to kill me. I don't have to worry about a DCT in traffic that makes it look like I'm a noob at driving a manual. So that's nice. These really are quite good for the money. And also in an M car, you're spending almost $40,000 more than this car. That is a considerable amount of money, because that's almost 2 times the price of this car. Granted, with options, this does become like a $60,000 car, but still, that's quite a bit of money. So should you buy it? Well, now that's an interesting question, because it really does depend on the kind of person you are. If you like to drive, if you like a sporty drive, but you also want to be in a car that is comfortable enough to take you to and from work, to haul your family, let's say that you have young kids, and to go get groceries on a weekly basis, I think this is a great buy, realistically speaking. Sure, there are other cars in this segment that do pretty much the same thing. It's really difficult to say that the C-Class isn't a relatively sporty car anymore, because honestly, it is. But it doesn't really blend the sports car in as well as a 3 or a 4 Series does. The Audi also is a great car. I think that it blends it perfectly fine. But you get a different kind of driving experience with an Audi. I personally like the push. A lot of people do. That is another really big thing. A lot of these cars are rear-wheel drive still, so you can have a little bit of fun. And really, with all these reasons, I'd say that buying a newer, lower model BMW really isn't that bad of an idea, even if you could afford a 5 Series or a 6 Series. Well, now they're doing away with the 6 Series. Because this is kind of a car that I'd want if it wasn't for spatial necessities. Other than that, this car's not bad, and considering the amenities and everything, I do really wonder if I made the right decision buying a 650 instead of